Mr. Thune.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I continue to believe, and thank you all for being here, to the best way to provide long-term protections for the Internet is for Congress to pass bipartisan legislation. When I served as chairman of this committee, I put forward legislative principles and a draft bill to begin the conversation, and I stand ready and willing today to work toward finding a lasting legislative solution that will resolve the dispute over net neutrality once and for all. My question is for each of you that, as commissioners, do you each believe the FCC should come to Congress for more direction before attempting any iteration of net neutrality rules? Yes or no?
Yes, Senator.
Ms. Gomez.
Well, Senator, I certainly would encourage the Senate to adopt legislation to address this issue once and for all. At the same time, I do believe that broadband internet access service is too central to our lives, to our education, to working, to rural health care, not to have oversight. So I look forward to working with you and hope that maybe I can help, if confirmed, with your efforts at legislation.
Well, we would like to work on that, but I have to say, it really, to my view, it needs to be the role of Congress. And I guess, and Mr. Starks, you want to go ahead and answer that question?
Yes, my answer is no. I absolutely agree that I would love to work with you, love to work with Congress. I do think additional legislation here would be very sound policy for American people, but the FCC does have the authorization, the jurisdiction that we need to move forward.
Is there, since the FCC's 2017 order to repeal what I think were very heavy-handed Title II regulations, what sort of activities have ISPs engaged in that the FCC would need Title II authority for? What specific harms have you seen?
You know, I think regardless of specific harms, I think, you know, as somebody who views part of the regulator's job is to make sure that we have the proper guardrails to protect consumers. And I would view, obviously, the need for net neutrality rules as part of that theory.
Yeah, hopefully put together by Congress. Commissioner Carr, when the FCC was considering the Restoring Internet Freedom Order, Title II advocates made a number of claims that the Internet would, as we know it, would end as we know it, and ISPs would charge consumers different amounts to access different services, than that ISPs would block or slow down certain content online unless consumers paid exorbitant fees. Even Senate Democrats sent a tweet warning that Americans would be getting the Internet one word at a time. Did any of these things happen?
Senator, no, we have not seen that. In fact, if you look at mobile wireless speeds on average in the 5 years since that decision, they have increased 456%. I think ultimately COVID was probably the greatest stress test for communications policy. And as the ranking member indicated, during COVID-19, as traffic surged globally, Europeans regulators asked their streamers to degrade the quality of their service because they were worried that the continent's networks would break. While here we had massive investment that helped to carry all that traffic.
And if the FCC reclassified broadband under Title II once again, what effect would such a change have on smaller broadband providers like those in my home state of South Dakota, some of which you just met with recently?
So I think it would really constitute a regulatory onslaught and increase costs. And the interesting thing I think about net neutrality is that there is a tremendous amount of common ground here on principles. The challenge is if the FCC does it and goes through Title II, Title II is an entire regime that is sort of ill-fitted here. And in fact, even the last FCC forbore from something like 700 provisions of Title II, which I sort of think is evidence that it's just not fit for this type of a technology.
Okay, thank you. Shifting gears for just a minute, the previous FCC led by Chairman Pai provided critical relief from state and local obstacles that increased costs and delayed deployment of 5G small cells. Eliminating burdensome regulations have been critical for America's leadership in 5G, and in the aftermath of the previous FCC's reforms, the number of cell sites in the U.S. increased by 35% between 2016 and 2021, after increasing only 1% between 2013 and 2016. I'd like to see more done on this front. We can't afford to make rural America wait any longer to see the benefits of broadband for 2 more years because of paperwork. Commissioner Carr, let me quickly, what are the ways the FCC could expand upon the previous FCC's reforms? And then for Mr. Starks and Ms. Gomez, would you commit to preserving the previous FCC's reforms and expanding upon them during your tenure?
There's a lot we could do, Senator, including taking some of those reforms that we applied in the small cell context, shot clocks, that type of ideas and moving that into the wired context. I think that's one thing that we should be looking at.
Starks.
Yes, from my perspective, making sure that we are able to accelerate, in particular with the amount of broadband that we have coming, wireless that we have coming, I think is extremely important. And some of the rules that we did have preserved, I think, make good sense.
Yeah. Ms. Gomez.
Thank you, Senator. I agree that getting deployment out as fast as possible to areas like your home state is important, and that we should take whatever actions we can, also understanding that the needs of localities as well to do their own processes. And I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to working with Commissioners Carr and Starks on that, if confirmed.
Well, Commissioner Starks' brother and sister-in-law in Sioux Falls probably have pretty good coverage, but there are a lot of areas of South Dakota that don't. So
Yes, I do, Senator.
thank you all very much.